Ain't nobody don't pass me. I'm just so fresh, so precious, so clean. Something you look some. And we are the coolest motherfuckers on the planet, my. What really comes to mind when I hear that song is, what is her name from the Instagram? When I sing it, y'all probably gonna know who I'm talking about. And if I remember, I will try and put her Instagram name on the screen here. But she did, when you don't like what I'm saying, you look askance at me. You look askance at me. That's really what I hear when I hear So Fresh and So Clean these days. But anyway, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Shelby Monet of Shelby in the Bookstore and Shelby in the Book Club. In today's video, we will be talking about some nonfiction, because apparently it's Nonfiction November. And really what I want to talk about is when they be coming up with all these holidays and shit, and didn't nobody tell me, like, do I need to go outside and buy a calendar? Like, I don't. If you would like to hear it, here it go. First, let's talk about how I feel about nonfiction, right? So prior to Blackbirds in the Sky and A Knock at Midnight, which I spoke about earlier this year, my relationship with nonfiction was memoirs, autobiographies, that kind of thing. I've always strayed away from the nonfiction books that are about like current events or history, because I don't know if y'all noticed, but I'm black. I'm black. So all of it is depressing. It is hard to navigate the history of this country, the history of my people, without being really angry. So reading is a happy place for me. Reading is a space for me to do something that I love and learn new things, obviously, because you can learn new things from fiction. I just, it's even like, I'm even comfortable with reading a fiction that's sad and about slavery, and like, okay, I'm okay with that. But it's something about nonfiction that it's just like, oh, this stuff really happened. And then you get into the aspect of like, oh, it really happened, and then they've been trying to hide it from us, and all of that stuff. So difficult, right? One of the books for this month was Blackbirds in the Sky by Brandy Colbert, and I really feel like this book has changed my mind in a way, because there were so many things in here that were super intriguing to me that I had never heard of, that really made me, like, I was reading this book and like on my phone Googling things as I was reading it and taking notes, because it's like so many things started to make sense. It really is a depiction of the United States is built on like a bunch of lies and a bunch of hatred, and on the backs of Black people and Native Americans and other people of color, mostly Black people. So if you don't know anything about the Tulsa Race Massacre, you definitely should pick this book up in particular. I know there are a bunch of other books out there on it, but what I enjoyed the most about this book is it really took us through the history of everything, right? So how Oklahoma becomes a state, the Trail of Tears, history of some Native American history, you know, the history of Black Wall Street, how it was created, who it was created by. I love that she made Mr. Rowland a human. He wasn't just this man that stumbled into an elevator. It was a really good book. So this is a nonfiction that I really think everybody should pick up. I think it's important information, and it also, what Brandy did a really good job at is at laying the foundation of all of these other race riots and massacres that have happened that led up to this, or that happened around the same time, that I also had never heard of. So this is important, and it made me think, you know, I should have been learning this stuff, not just me, but we should be learning this stuff in schools, right? How do we move forward? How do we progress as a country, as people in general, not, you know, as separate races, but just as humans, right? How do we progress and get to this point where we have equality and we have peace for all if we don't know about the mistakes that have been made in the past, if we're not able to mourn, if we're not able to acknowledge and understand and then unpack and figure out right from wrong, so on and so forth. So I really think everyone should read this. Next on the list, we have A Knock at Midnight by Brittany Barnett. I did not finish this book. And I'm going to be honest with you and say that I don't even really know if I'm ever going to finish it, because it was making me very, very angry. So on this side of things, right, it's a race massacre from the aspect of you know, face to face, I will say, right? Like just people living in their town, and then their town gets destroyed because the white people wanted us to be segregated. We segregated. We took ourselves and we went away, and they came and they burnt the shit down. Anyway, this is more from a perspective of the law, right? And how there are laws in place that wholeheartedly are against Black people, specifically. So it tells the story of Brittany Barnett, who is a law student at the time, and she helps, she comes across a case that changes her life forever of Sharonda Jones, a single mother, business owner, and like Brittany, Black daughter of the rural South. A victim of America's devastating war on drugs, Sharonda has been torn away from her young daughter and is serving a life sentence without parole for a first-time drug offense. In Sharonda, Brittany saw haunting echoes of her own life. So Brittany's mother went through something very similar, so Brittany knows what it's like to have a parent put in jail. But it also, like, a lot of these laws we just don't know, and you wouldn't know them if you don't have any firsthand experience with it, right? Or unless you're a lawyer, or that's still firsthand experience, Shelby. But y'all get what I'm saying. Like, if you don't know, you don't know, right? And it's easy for non-Black people to say, oh no, racism does not work that way, when it's just like, yeah, it does. Because if it were a white woman with a first-time offense, I can guarantee you she wouldn't be in jail for that long. She probably wouldn't have even gone to jail at all. So, it was very, very intriguing, but it was very hard to read. So I don't know that I will finish it. Next, we have a memoir that, you know, I'm probably going to read again, because I don't read books often, but then there are some books that just touch your heart, right? So it's Memorial Drive by Natasha Trethewey. I believe that's how you say that. And it tells the story of her growing up with her mom, who, I don't remember if her mom had like issues with drugs, but her mom was in an abusive relationship with someone that was in turn abusing Natasha in some ways. and it led to the man killing Natasha's mother when Natasha was 19. And I think because I have an intimate relationship with grief, it made some of the things that I've felt tangible, right? Like her talking about never going back to where they lived, right, where she grew up, because of the memories that it held. Just there were so many things, and I think the big takeaway for me was, I don't think parents realize how much their actions actually affect their children, from the people that you date, from just the smallest things. Like, I don't think, especially as a woman that is very close with her mother, there are things that I definitely know come from things that I've seen my mother navigate as a woman, things that I may not have seen her navigate as a woman. I know once, like, having to have the conversation with my mother as an adult and saying to her, hey, you know, when you cry and when I see you cry, although it hurts to see you cry, you're letting me know that it's okay for me to cry, right? Because for a long time, like, in my mind, I was just like, oh, mommy doesn't cry, so I'm not gonna cry, right? Makes sense? So it's y'all know what I say about those books that are less than 300 pages. They pack a punch. They little, but they mighty. So if you haven't read this, I suggest you read it. I couldn't imagine losing my mother at my age now, let alone at 19, and it being a murder. I don't know. Something else that I think I'm going to read again, and I might actually pick this up now. What Becomes of the Brokenhearted by Elin Harris. This is the first memoir that I ever read, like ever. And it just talks about Elin Harris, like, navigating his life as a black man, as a black gay man, his childhood in Arkansas, which I call Arkansas. And I just remember reading this in high school. I actually might read this. I might pick this up tonight. But I remember the I don't know, I just remember reading this and feeling like I knew him, and like he was my brother or something like that. When I was a kid, mom still has all of his books, so I had literally read all of Elin Harris's books. I probably had no business reading about them men cheating on them women and all of that other stuff, but I guess I can still consider myself a big Elin Harris fan, because I would fly through his books very, very often. And this was just so touching to me. So I think I'm going to read this again. I think it's time to read it again as an adult and see how I feel about it. Next, we have, one book that I wanted to talk about, but I don't know where my hard copy of it is The Men We Reaped by Jesmyn Ward. That is another book that I would say is similar to Memorial Drive, where it talks about grief, but what Jesmyn Ward does is she talks about all the men in her life that she's lost, and the effect that it's played on her life. Again, a conversation about grief and the way that it affects black women, and particularly the way that it affected, her losing her brother or close friends, cousins, and how it took a toll not only on her, but just the women in her family, the women that were affected by it, and the toll it takes on women when they lose important men in their lives. It's a phenomenal book. Jesmyn Ward is a phenomenal writer. She is definitely a favorite of mine. I've read all of her books, and will probably read all of them again. because they are just so intense. The writing is just so, like, you can drown in her sentences. I would love to hug her. Like, I just want, like, one of those hugs where again, I'm black women do this, where we just hug each other and we rock, you know, like one of those hugs. Like, I just want to hold on to her and just rock for a little while, you know. Who recently hugged me like that and it almost made me cry? I don't know, but y'all get what I'm saying. Definitely read Jesmyn Ward's The Men We Reap. If I remember, I will put it on the screen. Okay, next we have Move the Needle by Shelly Brander. Shelly Brander is the... Who is Shelly Brander? She is a phenomenal woman, very inspirational, and I consider her one of those people, excuse me, that is like glue. Like, she knows, like, who to put in what room with who. She knows if you are perfect for something. She is just a phenomenal person. So she is the owner of Loops, which is a yarn store, and she also is the founder and owner of Knit Stars. This is when we take a break to sing the Knit Stars song, created by my mother. 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm a knit star. That's right, you heard it. A knit star. That's right. My mama gonna watch this and be like, girl, get your life together. But yeah, so she wrote a book called Move the Needle, Yarns from an Unlikely Entrepreneur, that is about turning your passion into a career, which is something that I've done. I started reading this. I have not finished it yet, but I'm going to finish it because there are some gems in this book that I think everybody needs. And I love that she has turned her love of knitting and just not only turned it into an empire, but has also, like, she is bringing other women, other men, other people like herself along, and she's very, very much an example that it is possible. It's possible. You don't have to spend forever doing things that you don't love. So there's Move the Needle. Next are 2 books that I want to read, that I have not read yet, but all of these, most of these are in the store. I will add the rest eventually. Well, this is definitely in the store. You can definitely get this from shelbyandthebookstore.com. I love Will Smith. I always have. When I was a kid, my cousin and I only watched 2 things. That is Finding Nemo and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That is all we watched. So I'm very curious about his life. And just the things that he's gone through. I've heard it is a phenomenal audiobook. But I want to actually read it because I want to be able to take notes in the book and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to read this. And maybe it's going to be a book pick for next year. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. And then we have, so I haven't read this because she passed not too long before it came out and it hurt my feelings. So I just put the book down and I didn't want to read it because I don't want to face the fact that she's gone. I feel like she has been around forever, and she is, she's a great, and that is Just As I Am by Cicely Tyson. I want to read this. I want to know more about her life, because I feel like that is something that I don't know. I don't know much about her life. So, oh, I didn't know that the foreword was by Viola Davis. I did not know that. Maybe I'll add this on to something that I'll read this month too, because I don't know, all the stuff that I picked out for my TBR this month hasn't really been working out. But anyway, Cicely Tyson. I feel like she's been around forever, and I really feel like she is one of those people, very much like Prince, like that I expected to live forever. Like, they're just some people that you think about, like Stevie Wonder. Like, I don't die. Like, what? That's not gonna happen. You get what I'm saying? So I'm really, really interested. I really want to read this. I may add this to what I read, because like I was saying, my TBR for this month, I'm struggling, because every night for an hour I've read something different and none of them are sticking. So I need to find something so that I can be good. But yeah, those are some of the nonfiction that I absolutely love and think you guys should read, and some that I want to read that I think are going to be really good that I also think you guys should read. So without further ado, this is the end. This is it. Although we've come to the end of the road. I don't know the words after that part. Still I can't let you go. It's unnatural. You belong to me. I belong to you. This is it. Bye. Love you. Bye.